Hi everyone, this is Tori Vandelin with Prevent Connect. This podcast is a continuation of our conversation from the podcast, Building Healthy Relationships and Promoting Protective Factors in Alaska. On part one of this podcast, our guests discussed how they are using Girls on the Run as a sexual and intimate partner violence prevention strategy. On this podcast, Natalie, Britta, Kirk, and Hannah share more about the work they are doing to promote equity both within organizational practices and within the community to create a culture free from violence. Continue listening to learn more about their approach, success, and vision for the future. Enjoy!
Coaches are the ones who are interacting with the girls in the program and who are actually leading them through these lessons, right? So who makes a good coach? How do you go about recruiting a coach? Who should a Girls on the Run coach be? Because I have a feeling that it matters who the coaches are.
Well, for one, we want a really wide range of people. We want women and men. We want lots of different ages. We want our coaches to reflect our girls who are very diverse. We want teachers, we want parents, and we want community members because different coaches will connect with different girls in different ways, and it's so great to have girls who bond with different coaches, and we do work hard to recruit enough coaches every season, and also to recruit enough diverse coaches. So, Kirk, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So diversity has been a big thing for us. For whatever reason, the majority of our coaches, and I think we spoke to this before, are white females. And we have a huge diversity as far as our girls in our program. And we want to see that same diversity amongst our coaches. We want our girls to be able to look and see their image also. We feel like that's very important moving forward. So we've really... it's a big goal for us to improve our diversity amongst our coaches. I'm not quite sure how to do that, but we have some ideas and things we're going to work on moving forward. For one, we plan on reaching out to different organizations in the community. We had, like, for us here in Juneau, we have a huge Filipino population. I reached out and I suppose to at some point be able to go to one of their private local organization meetings and do a little small presentation on Boys Run and Girls on the Run and try to encourage people in that community to come out and coach. We talked about reaching out to faith-based organizations also. In our communities. We also have a huge Samoan population, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out how do I reach. I know people in that community, but I'm in the process of trying to figure out how do I reach that community in a large mass where I can get my information out to them. So, and then, like I mentioned earlier, we're in partnership with Tlingit and Haida Central Council, and we're trying to build our relationship with them and try to encourage people that work for the council to come out. Also building better relationships and partnerships with our local businesses is one of my ideas. Maybe where businesses are willing to provide staff members with maybe a little flex in their schedule, or maybe even be willing to pay for that hour and a half of coaching and not dock that person when they leave. So these are all great ideas, but right now it's theory and we don't know, but I'm still relatively new here, and we are really working hard to try to put some of these ideas into motion and see if we can't increase our diversity amongst our coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's a really important piece for you all, and you have a lot of great ideas. So, we wish you a lot of luck in that relationship building, because I think a lot of it has to do with that. And I think we talk a lot about the importance of reflecting community through whether it's people who are providing anything, whether it's an educational workshop or a curriculum. And so it's great to hear that that's such a strong focus for you all. I want to talk a little bit more kind of along the same lines and circle back to this idea of, or not an idea, but really the importance of culture in all of the work that you're doing. Because you talked a lot, everything from like the food that was served at the family fun nights to incorporating the local language into some of your programming, to the importance of place-based activities and values. Culture seems to play a really strong role in these programs. And so I'm wondering, how do you see that focus on culture aligning with the equity pathway that you all mentioned a little while ago? Because I feel like there's a connection there.
And so in some ways that we're asking coaches of both teams to consider where we are, who we are, what we're doing is through ally actions. And so that's kind of goes into our social justice framework as well, is that no matter who the coach is or who we're bringing in, we're asking that they consider, we invite them to be an ally, to aspire to be an ally, or to open up their perspective a little bit. And so some people that might just mean learning about white privilege for the first time, or getting more into white fragility or male fragility, or it might be thinking about who we are in this place in Juneau a little bit more deeply, or getting more involved in some of the other cultural groups, that the events that are happening. So asking people to really go above just showing up for the Girls on the Run practices, but digging in a little bit deeper. So I'm not sure if that's very clear, but
I think it is. And I think, Tori, you have another question around equity approaches. So I think we're gonna continue on this line of thought. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I know you had mentioned earlier previously about how Aware is viewing their equity work and their social justice work and seeing decolonization as an act of love. So kind of going back to that conversation and building on the conversation that we're having now, we know that many organizations are looking at taking equity approaches, and you all have, it sounds like, a lot of experience with that, with how community-driven these programs are too. So how are you uniting all of your programs under this social justice vision?
The culture of the workplace at Aware is being called to question how we've done things and how we're going to move forward in everything that we do. In terms of, shelter, we've moved to gender inclusive. We're the only gender inclusive shelter in the state of Alaska. Mm-hmm. And we've also moved along the spectrum of safe and sober for who we are able to house in our shelter, knowing that substance abuse is so intimately tied with trauma. So that's some things that are going on that side. On our side, when we are thinking about evaluation, about tools that we are building, about community partnerships, it is a thread and it's a question. Mm-hmm. We have an equity strategic plan, and our current equity coordinator is on his way to Florida for a Greenpeace
Greenpeace Action Camp.
Action Camp, to do some artwork. But he's really informing a lot of the work that we do and creating a pathway for us to really have it involved in all of our decision making mm-hmm. and processes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was so excited to talk to you all about Girls on the Run. And when we, throughout this conversation, I think what's even more exciting is just hearing about the different pathways that you're employing in order to prevent sexual violence and intimate partner violence across Alaska, and really this current of social justice that informs all of the work that you do. I think, it's so much more than just about a program, the work that you all are doing. You're really changing culture, not just, in the communities, but in your own organizations. And so that's so exciting.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting, too, that this isn't just the work that you all are putting out into the community or that you're partnering with the community on, but it's work that's happening within the agency as well, which I think is really important for all of us to reflect on with wanting to get to the roots of sexual and intimate partner violence and recognizing that oppression is a root cause, and it's not just something that happens within violence, but it's something that sometimes our own agencies can play a part in too. So how do we really begin to break that down within our agencies and have true prevention happen at all levels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that we've been trying to get is having, in terms of how equity is informing our practices in the pathway for men's engagement. Our men's engagement has taken a radical shift. And the question was, there were multiple questions, but one was, how do we get men to be part of the voice of prevention and to play more active roles and be leaders? How do we get the men who are in our Better Intervention program to not just be men of color shouldering all the burden because they happen to be the most oppressed through our criminal justice system? We know that our men's program was not adequately serving or reaching out to all the men who are responsible for the violence in our communities. And so that was a question that was taken into account and has changed our programming. And it's really fascinating to see how it's infiltrating us across everything that AWARE is doing in our community. It's been really powerful. And all of this is kind of coming together at this really important time in the national scale as well as what we see going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's fascinating and encouraging to hear the process that you all are going through, and just being able to look internally and asking those important questions and then putting action behind that. So I think one of our last questions for you is we're going to turn back outward to your relationship with the communities that you're working with and within. And I guess I'm just wondering, how are these programs that we've been talking about during this podcast, how have they impacted your relationships with communities?
Well, our impression is that it's been really positive for AWARE to be associated with this very joyful program. And I'm not actually sure how many people in the community realize that AWARE is putting on Girls on the Run. But it's pretty great for the people who know it. And what one neat thing is that we do our trainings for our new Girls on the Run and Boys Run coaches at our shelter. And for some people, that's their first introduction to this whole world. And we introduce them to the concept of prevention and help them understand that what they're doing is so needed, so important. And just this last year, because it was the 10th anniversary of Girls on the Run, we participated in the 4th of July parade. So we had all these really girl-positive messages that we were putting out there, and we had our big AWARE banner. So really kind of trying to make the link for people that these are one and the same.
Yeah, the vision and mission of Girls on the Run has, being more joyful within its realm, and that has really been what it's been for AWARE, is joy. And our whole team gets involved in the 5Ks and supports it. We've had our executive director, our sexual assault response team manager, they were all coaches in Girls on the Run and came out and rallied for the parade and danced, and it's really had a positive effect on our relationship in the communities that we serve.
And one cool thing is that with every 5K, we get a fantastic photo, or more than one, of all these really happy, empowered girls, and that makes a great like front page photo for Aware.
Yeah, can imagine. Well, it sounds like it's kind of helped you all with outreach. It's made prevention approachable to the community in a new way that I think some of us sometimes struggle with. How do we talk about prevention with people? How do we, have these conversations that aren't necessarily about a fun topic, or not a great topic at all, but how do we do so in a way where everyone sees their place and their role in being able to be part of the solution? So I love that. It sounds like you've really been able to accomplish that.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
As always, right? There's never a finish line.
Well, except for the 5K.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had a great time chatting with you all about the work that you're doing in Alaska. I just want to give you a chance, if there's anything else that you'd love our listeners to know, either about just the work that Aware is doing or Girls on the Run specifically, feel free to share that.
I have one thing I wouldn't mind saying, is because we talked about how we're going to encourage people and reach out, and whether it's in our community or communities across the country, I just want to urge people to take some time out of their busy schedules, because I know they are busy schedules, and we do know that and appreciate that. But I want to encourage coaches of all ethnic backgrounds, people of all size, shape, color. You don't have to be a runner to do this. Come out. All you have to be is a strong role model, and come out and work with our youth, whether it's girls and boys, and participate in great programs like this. It doesn't have to be 2 days a week. It can be 1 day a week. So if you have an hour and a half that you can donate to your community and to the girls and boys, please do it.
I think another ask is for people, even if you're not a Girls on the Run program or something similar through a DV agency, to just recognize, like, this is violence prevention. This is the solution. That could go a long way in reframing your connection to the work.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. So important. Great. Well, I just want to thank you all again, Hannah, Britta, Kirk, Natalie. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to have this conversation with us. We hope to be able to visit you in person next time. We'd love to join the 5K one year. But just thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and your insight with our listeners. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.